So I am going to solve this particular question of the day 3 different ways because I can think of at least 3 different ways to do it. And you might think of another one. But the good news is, as long as you do something true, as long as you deal with a problem in a math class in a true way, you're always going to get to the same answer. So I want to show you, it doesn't really matter how your brain thinks about this, we're all going to get to the same place. So let's just first look at like the kind of math person's way to do this, okay? Let me read the problem. Karen is a seamstress. A certain dress calls for 2.5 yards. Oh, I need my pen. There we go. And I think I did not like the color I was using. Come on, pen. There we go. That should be better. Okay, so a certain dress calls for 2.5 yards of fabric. That's one dress. So that is a per dress amount of fabric. Look at me, I can't even spell per dress. Okay, per dress. And I see that Karen is not going to make just one dress, but she wants to make 6 dresses. She's going to use 2.5 yards of fabric 6 times. And so probably the kind of mathy way that most math people would think to do this is just take 2.5 and multiply by 6. And that's a reasonable thing to do. If I were going to do that, a lot of you guys know I do not like to multiply with mixed numbers because it's more work to multiply by mixed numbers because I have 2 numbers here, a 2 and a half, and I would have to multiply with both of them. And so what I would probably do is convert this into an improper, which you can feel free to do. And I would turn this into 2 times 2 plus 1 is 5, 5 over 2 5/2, and then I would multiply that by 6. I can throw the 6 over 1. I can cross reduce. Okay, multiply straight across. And I get 15. 15 yards. But a lot of people are like, Kate, that was a lot of math skills. I don't remember converting fractions. I don't remember how to multiply them. It's not hard. You can see here I did it very quickly. But if you don't remember a lot of these skills, what could you do in the problem? Students are like, oh, that is a hard method for me. So let's look. Even if you forget your fraction skills, you have options. Let's look at an alternate way to do it. Okay, here's another thing you could do. You could turn your fraction into a decimal. You're like, seriously, I do not like this fraction. Let me turn it into a decimal. Well, 2.5 yards, another way to talk about that is 2.5. And though we don't have many fractions memorized, most of us know that a half is the same as 0.5. And so you could just multiply that by 6. And some people would prefer the decimal multiplication. So in decimal multiplication, it doesn't matter how you line them up. You just take it to the right-hand side. You don't worry about the decimal place. And then 6 times 2 is 12, 13, 14, 15. And then as your final step, you count the total number of decimal places in the problem, and you make that be the total number of decimal places in the answer. And I can see, again, I got 15 yards. Now maybe you're thinking, but Kate, I don't remember decimals either. Okay, fine. I got more options for you. You ready? Here's what a desperate person could do. I don't remember my fractions. I don't remember my decimals. What can I do? Okay, let's go the long way. If you don't know how to multiply fractions, you don't know how to multiply decimals, could we at least examine one dress at a time? The first dress is going to be 2.5 yards of fabric. So is the second dress. So is the third one. So is the fourth one. So is the, whoa. I said fourth one and I wrote a fourth instead of a half, sorry. So is the fifth one. And so is the sixth one. Do you agree with me that I've just written out oh, I did it again. Wow. Now you agree with me. I've just written out 2.5 6 times. That's 2.5 yards for 6 dresses. Well, even if you can't multiply this, I bet you can add this one and this one. 2.5 yards and 2.5 yards. What would that be? Well, of course, a half and a half makes 1 whole. And 2 and 2 makes 4. So to make 2 dresses, I've got 5 yards of fabric. Well, another 2 dresses would be another 5 yards of fabric. Another 2 dresses would be another 5 yards of fabric. And look at that. I got 15 yards of fabric, and I had very little fraction skills.